Hello, students. We are going to be taking a look at another set of documents that are brought to you by the Stanford History Educational Group. And in these documents, we're going to be taking a really close look at the Battle of Concord and Lexington, where the American Revolution actually starts. One of the things that we're going to attempt to try to conclude is which side we think likely fired the first shot, whether that be the colonists or the redcoats, the British. As we try to piece together what happened at the Battle of Lexington, especially as we try to draw some conclusions in terms of which of the two sides might have fired first, we are going to examine two primary source documents. And it's really nice that we have opposing perspectives here. So of course, regarding this particular battle, we'll have the perspective of the British, and then we'll have the perspective of the colonists. Let us take a look first at document A. Barker, our sourcing information. Entry April 19, 1775, from the diary of Lieutenant John Barker, an officer in the British Army. One of the things that immediately is standing out at me is that this journal entry is dated for April 19, and that's the day of the event. So it's striking me as unlikely that it was actually written on that particular day, and probably written maybe a few days after, and then given the date of the events that are being described, given the nature of the fact that the troops are marching and that the battle occurs, and that this would have taken up the entire time, and that any participants in the battle probably would have been too tired at any point or not able to make such an entry. But let's take a look. 19th at 2 o'clock, we began our march by wading through a very long stream up to our middles, so their waists. About 5 miles away from a town called Lexington, we heard there were some hundreds of people collected together intending to oppose us. At 5 o'clock, so they're marching for 3 hours, we arrived there and saw a number of people, believed between 200 and 300, formed in a common in the middle of the town. We still continued advancing, prepared for an attack, though without intending to attack them. So he's making it very clear that they're seeing a substantial number of people, and that they're no intention of attacking, according to Barker. As we came near them, they fired 1 or 2 shots, upon which our men, without any orders, fired and put them to flight. So that's really interesting when he's saying his men fired without any orders. It strikes me that it's possible that Lieutenant Barker, being the officer here in command, is trying to say that he's not responsible for the shots being fired and for the war officially beginning. But it's also interesting to me that this still kind of makes him look bad, because his men should not be firing unless they're given the order to do so. We then formed on the common, but with some difficulty. The men were so wild they could hear no orders. We waited a considerable time there, at length proceeded on our way to Concord. So again, he describes his men as being wild. The men were so wild. They could not hear orders. So again, that surprises me as well, given that the British soldiers tended to have more experience than that of the colonials, tended to be more disciplined. Let's compare that to document B. Mulligan. This is sworn by 34 Minutemen on April 25th before 3 justices of the peace. So about a week after the event. It's not too bad. Our memory's usually pretty good after a week, especially a major event like this. You might have a hard time thinking about what you had for dinner a week ago, but an event like this would probably still be fairly fresh in your mind. We, Nathaniel Mulligan, Philip Russell, followed by the names of 32 other men present on Lexington Green on April 19, 1775, all of lawful age and inhabitants of Lexington, do testify and declare that on the 19th of April, about 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so this is really interesting because this corroborates at least part of document A. Right? They're both claiming that the battle is taking place at 5 a.m. We proceeded towards the green and saw a large body of troops marching towards us. Some of our men were coming to the green and others had reached it, at which time they began to disperse. While our backs were turned on the British troops, they fired on us, and a number of our men were instantly killed and wounded. While our backs were turned on the British troops. This is really interesting to me as well. So clearly, they're making the case that the British soldiers were the aggressors, but given the situation, why would you turn your back on the British troops? If I was there, if I was present at the Green as a Minuteman, I would want to keep those British troops in front of me. I would want to see what they're doing. I would want to see how close they are, see their posture, see their, if they have aggression in terms of how they're moving. Are they taking aim? Are they pointing their muskets at us? And obviously, if your backs are turned, you'd not be able to see those things. So that strikes me as odd. They fired on us, and a number of our men were instantly killed and wounded. Not a gun was fired by any person in our company on the British soldiers, to our knowledge, before they fired on us. So they're making a claim that the British fired first and continued firing until we had all made our escape. If you're looking at document B is almost making it sound like the Minutemen didn't fire a shot at all. So we have two very different documents here. And it's really difficult to know, and historians don't even really know exactly who fired first. So you're definitely not going to be able to know that your answer is right. But I want you to consider both of these documents. I want you to make a conclusion as to which one you think is more reliable, given what we know about the history of the Revolution, what we've learned about Lexington up to this point, and the two primary source documents. And then on a separate sheet of line paper, I'd like you to write a paragraph stating which of the two documents you think is more reliable, why, and then finally drawing a conclusion as to which side you believe fired first and why. That should be a nice hearty paragraph that you're attaching to these documents. I can't wait to see your response. Bye for now.